we first moved here, or moved to Dallas, my family joined Bent Tree Country Club, and David Price was a longtime head pro there for 34 years, I believe. And David's been a second father to me basically since I was 11 years old. And, you know, kind of the whole story of how I got started with him was one of our assistants at Bent Tree had broken his leg, and I had worked with him for a while, and he couldn't teach for a little bit. And I was playing in some junior events, and I thought I could do better. You know, I wasn't playing poorly, but like you said, getting a little bit of the competitive side from my mom, I wasn't happy not winning golf tournaments or contending in golf tournaments at a young age. And Mr. Price and my dad went to Mr. Price and said, hey, would you mind, working with Will? And he said, why don't we just have a sit down conversation? Like, I know he's 11, but let's just talk. And Mr. Price actually worked with Harvey Penick for growing up. And he tells a story about the first few lessons that he ever took from Mr. Penick. And he's a strong left-handed kid from West Texas and would just hit kind of a going draw and never really released the golf club. And Mr. Penick showed him how to release a golf club. And he said, grab a pitching wedge, and I'm going to show you how to release this golf club. And I want you to hit 15-yard shots with it. And, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll work for a little while on it and hit something longer. So David ends up hitting chips basically for 3-4 hours and ends up going home, comes back the next day. And Mr. Penick said, well, how you feeling? He said, well, I'm a little sore. I'm just not used to my left hand releasing that hard. And he goes, well, good, let's try to hit something longer today. And so David's thinking, I might hit something longer. Gives him an 8-iron, tells him to hit it 50 yards, come back tomorrow. And what he basically told me when I was 11, and he knew that I wanted to be good and knew why I was sitting in there, which it's a tough thing to, if the kid doesn't want it, it's kind of hard to have this conversation with it. But he knew that I wanted it. And he said, look, I know you're out here having fun, but when you're out here playing with your buddies, like, are you out here just because it's social hour, or are you out here because you actually want to get better? And, my 1-hour lessons with Mr. Price would go basically, we had a couple 1-hour lessons. I would go 2.5 hours just because we were working on something and wanted to get it down. And ever since then, he's been there for me through the thick and thin. And obviously now he's retired, and, even to this day, we'll start hitting golf balls and we'll just sit there and talk through things, go through memories, kind of talk about life in general. I mean, so to kind of have somebody, like I said, he's a second father to me. Probably one of the most the most influential person in my life that's not a family member.